Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and welcome to my vegetable garden and my channel. Thanks for joining me. So I've got a number of things happening in the veg garden right now, and maybe you're experiencing the same thing. So I wanted to share that with you and just kind of show you how I'm dealing with it and how I'm going to get the most out of these beds in mid-July. So this bed, if you remember earlier in the year, in the springtime, I sowed some pak choi that I started indoors, and I put it in this bed. And the growing conditions were a lot different. It was a lot brighter right here because this tree here had not leafed out. So now I've got the issue of too much shade. So I did plant some things in here. There was some tomatillo I direct sowed and some dill. It's growing, but it's just very leggy. It's not going to produce much. And I have some volunteer tomatoes that came from my compost bin. So I must have composted some tomatoes last year and those seeds germinated. So I've got some very random stuff that looks really, really weedy. What I want to do is clear this and make the most of this bed using the light that I have. And one of the crops that's really great for a lower light situation is lettuce, specifically heat tolerant loose leaf lettuce. So I'm going to be growing a variety, a salad bowl lettuce from Botanical Interest. Loose leaf lettuces do much better in the heat. They won't bolt, which means that the moment lettuces, cool season lettuces, experience any amount of heat, they immediately go to flower. Sorry. Once the cool season lettuces experience any heat, they immediately decide, oh, I better flower and produce seed because death is near. This is not going to do that. So it's going to tolerate the heat better, and it's actually a really good crop for lower light. So this only gets about 4 hours of direct light, so a lettuce crop is perfect for this situation. So first I'm just going to clear the bed, get rid of all this stuff, and top it with some compost from my compost bin, and then I'm going to direct sow my salad bowl lettuce. So I top dressed my bed with some fresh compost, and now it's time for the fun part, seeding. Now when you're looking at your seed packets, it's going to give you a seed spacing recommendation. On this it's 12 inches. Well, I don't have 12 inches to play with, between rows here. If I did that, then I would get very little lettuce out of this packet. So we can fudge on those distances quite a bit, and I like to cut those spacing recommendations in half. So I'm going to do 2 rows about 6 inches apart, and lettuce seed is sown very shallowly. It's about an 1/8 inch depth, so just barely beneath the surface, and you're going to cover it lightly and then water it in, and it should come up in about 5 days. The soil temperature is nice and warm, and I've got a perfect growing condition. It's not going to be bathed in sunlight all day long. Lettuce can take that lower light. This gets about 4 inches. So I'm going to drop in my seed, and then I'm not going to be too careful about how thickly I sow my seed. I'm just going to drop it in. I'll thin it out later. So I didn't plant all of the seed. I didn't have to use all of it. It's a small space, so I can come in and I can sow again later in the summer or even in the early fall and have more lettuce for quite a while. So I'm just going to pop that in here. And before I water this, I'm going to move on to another bed that's empty. I recently harvested, actually the other day I harvested my garlic, and now that bed's empty and I want to grow something in that. Let me show you. In this bed, I had my hardneck garlic. I grew a variety, actually I grow a variety called Music every year, and I just harvested it the other day, and it's in the garage curing, and the garage smells so garlicky. There will be no vampires coming into my garage anytime soon. And I am just seeing my English cucumbers, and they are massive. Holy cow. I just checked these the other day. 1 second. Whoa. Well, it's a little misshapen, but it'll do. So this is a variety called Chelsea Prize. It's an English cucumber. It's got really smooth skin. It doesn't have the prickles on it, and it's pretty seedless. It's a really nice, you don't have to peel it. It's a really nice cucumber. And I've got, oh my gosh, I can't believe how many I have in there right now. But I'll show you that in a moment. But let's move on to this bed back here. So back here, as I was saying, is where I had my hardneck garlic planted. And I also did a companion planting of strawberries in this. And the strawberries did pretty well, actually. They're looking a little toasty right now, but the flavor on them was terrible. And I had these same strawberries in another part of the garden, and they were absolutely delicious last year. So I don't know if it was combining them with the garlic that caused this taste, the flavor of the strawberries to be really bitter. I have a lot of runners here. I'm gonna move these out of here probably in the fall, transplant them, but I don't want this to be an empty bed. So, and I also don't want to grow any more vegetables, I don't think. I really want sunflowers. I didn't plant sunflowers in any part of the vegetable garden this year. I always have sunflowers though. So I've got a variety here that I'm gonna try. This was sent to me from All America Selections. And I will link to all this down below as well. So this is a variety called Concert Bell. And the cool thing about this was one of their All America Selections, I think it was, 2022 flower winner. So what's cool about Concert Bell is I did a blog post on the different types of sunflowers, the branching forms that keep producing more flowers, and then there's the singles. And the cool thing about Concert Bell is it produces like a bouquet, this long stalk, and it's just loaded with all these beautiful, I think they're like 6-inch diameter flowers. And the spacing on them is about 1 foot apart. So I thought if I did a row back here behind the strawberries of those sunflowers, how nice would that be? Now, when you're planting flowers, so we're in the middle of July right now, when you're planting, you really want to pay attention to your days to maturity. So I have other types of sunflowers that I could have grown, but sunflowers typically, from the time you direct sow them to the time they flower, they range anywhere from like 85 to 95 days from the date you plant them to the date that they're mature. So being the middle of July right now, that would put me, if it's a 95-day sunflower, July, August, September, October, that might be pushing it. I may not get the flowers that I want. So I wanted something that is going to have a fast turnaround. And Concert Bell is that. So it's about 60 to 65 days from the moment you plant them, if you direct sowing, to the moment, to when they flower. If you're going to do from transplant, it's about 55 days, I believe. So this fits the bill perfectly. I'm going to drop these in. The spacing recommendation is about 1 foot, and the plants do look like they get pretty wide and about, I think, 4 to 5 feet tall. And so I'm just picturing that against my fence here, and just sunflowers in September sometime, which is perfect timing. So I'm gonna go in, refresh the soil a little bit, throw in some more compost, and drop in some of these Concert Bell sunflower seeds. I totally messed up. I forgot to hit record when I was planting the sunflower seeds. So all I did was poke a hole about 1 inch down. So a measurement for that would be about up to your first knuckle. So you push your finger in, and then I put a couple seeds in there, 2 to 3, cover them up, and I'm gonna water them in a minute. But I want to show you something else before we do that. So this here is my cucumber pyramid, and I have them in a whiskey barrel, but let me show you close up what's going on here. And I just noticed this, I checked these the other day and they were filling out really nice, but look how full they are. Look how perfect they are. They are English cucumbers. I got the seed from Renee's Seeds. It's my favorite cucumber to grow, super easy to grow, nice and smooth. You don't have to worry about all the prickles on them, very minimal seeds, and they're just a really nice, delicate cucumber, and some of them are past their prime actually. Here's an interesting one, but about 1 foot long and just so delicious. Now this is a favorite crop of my youngest daughter. So she used to always, when she was little, she always had to plant the cucumber seeds. They are her most favorite thing to eat. But I'm gonna cut a few more of these off. I cannot get over how prolific they are. I mean, they just grow and grow and grow. And they have some pretty gnarly shapes too, which is kind of funny. Here's another good one. Okay, so this is my first harvest of the year of the Chelsea Prize cucumbers. Now, in that little whiskey barrel, I had 4 plants, but look at this, all at once. So neighbors, if you're watching this, you will be getting cucumbers. All right, let's move on to the next thing. This is my Vigo Garden self-watering tomato planter. I love this thing, and I'm growing a slicing tomato. It's called Wonder Star Red. But what I want you to look at is this. If you are seeing this on your tomatoes right now, don't worry too much about it. If your tomatoes or even your peppers or eggplant or summer or winter squash have this on the base, it's blossom end rot or BER. It's not contagious. It's not going to travel to the rest of your garden. It's usually just on that first flush of fruit on those plants. So it's not something it's not treatable. You can't apply a fungicide or a milk wash or baking soda, whatever the remedies are. It's going to run its course and hopefully just stay on a few fruits, those first few fruits that happen on your plants. And you can actually eat around this too. So if this colors up and gets beautiful and red and big, and all you have is this spot, the rest of this is still edible. Just cut that off and still enjoy the plant, enjoy the fruit. So I am not too concerned about this. Oftentimes it's attributed to a calcium deficiency in your soil. It's often not the case. So it is a problem, not so much with a deficiency in the soil, but it's an uptake issue. So, and your watering, the frequency or infrequency of your watering can also affect how your plant absorbs calcium. So calcium makes its way to the leaves of the plant first, and then the fruit gets it last. So you just want to be conscious of how you're watering. This happened, we had a huge rainfall a couple days ago, and then all of a sudden I saw this. And it's also the first flush of fruit, which is where it's most common. I'm not going to worry about it. The rest of the plant looks wonderful. There's fruit developing very well, and it's not something that I'm too concerned about. So you'll most often see this on your big slicing tomatoes. This is a variety, it's a new variety from Brippy called Wonder Star Red. If you don't want to have to deal with blossom end rot, you can grow things like the the cherry tomatoes, the plum tomatoes, the grape tomatoes are very rarely affected by blossom end rot. It's your big slicing tomatoes that you'll find it on most often. So that's the situation. Everything else is looking great, and I'm going to give what I planted, the seeds I planted, the sunflowers and the lettuce seed, a good drink, and call it a day. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, thumbs up would be great. Subscribe. I'd love to have you along, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy gardening.